Welcome to Brownie Month here on Small Batch Big Taste. We're going to be doing a different brownie recipe for about the next 4, maybe 5 weeks if you're lucky. And today we are doing small batch mint brownies. Now these brownies have a chocolatey, chewy base topped with a creamy mint frosting and then more chocolate frosting on top. If you are a chocolate and mint lover, these are the brownies for you. Now, whenever I visit my college alma mater, I have to make a stop in the Wilkes Center for a mint brownie. That is the first place I ever had a mint brownie. They are a classic on campus and loved by just about everybody who steps foot on campus. I still remember that first day of college, that big college drop-off my freshman year. In fact, I'm going to show you a picture right here. Here I am standing out inside of my dorm, kind of terrified as my parents drove away. Well, those mint brownies did help make things better. So after I graduated from college, moved away, I had to figure out a way to recreate these mint brownies at home so I could still enjoy them. So I do have a full-size version of this on my blog, and you can find a link to that recipe down below. But today we are making a small batch mint chocolate brownies. All right, we're going to start with the brownie base. And in my bowl here, I have a 1/4 cup of softened salted butter. And I just take my spoon and just kind of smash it up a bit. It makes it easier to incorporate it because we are going to do this by hand with this small batch. It's just easier. Now, if you want to use a hand mixer, go ahead. But you don't really have enough ingredients to use a stand mixer. Then we're going to take a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. Mix that in. Little trick that you'll see me use here on YouTube to keep your bowl from jumping around on the counter as you are stirring. I just put a dish towel right underneath. All right, and then we're going to take 1 egg. Add that in. And then just mix this till it's nice and creamy and combined. After that's all combined, we're ready for our dry ingredients. We are going to use a 1/2 cup plus 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. For my flour, I do like to just kind of fluff it up, scoop it, and then just take a knife and scrape off the top. All right, there's a 1/4 cup, and then we're gonna add in 3 tablespoons. We're also gonna use 2 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder. 1, 2, 1/8 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. If you're using unsalted butter, go ahead and add in a little bit more salt. And then just stir until those dry ingredients are combined. All right, after it's combined, we're ready to put it into our pan. And we're gonna use a 9x5 loaf pan. I have lined it with what I call a parchment sling. If you have not seen me cut one of these before, go ahead and check out the video up there. I'll link to where I show you how to cut it, but it makes it so much easier to remove your brownies from the pan. So let's just take our batter and we're gonna go ahead and spread it in the bottom. Get every little last bit of that batter out of there. All right. Now I like to, in order to spread it into a nice even layer, I like to use my offset spatula. See right there, it makes it easier just to kind of get down in that pan. And then we're just gonna spread that in to a nice even layer, or as even as you can get it. All right, we've got them spread into the bottom there. They're ready to go to the oven, 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. So now while our brownies are baking, we're gonna go ahead and make the mint frosting part of our mint brownies. I've got 2 tablespoons of softened salted butter in here. And I'm gonna add in a 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. And then in order to get the mint in our mint brownies, we are going to use mint extract, okay? It is different than peppermint extract. They are not the same flavor. So for these, you wanna use mint, but if all you have is peppermint, go ahead and use it. You'll just have peppermint brownies instead of mint brownies. So, but the mint can be a little hard to find. I found it at Walmart for those of you in the US. They do carry it. You can also find it on Amazon. We're gonna use 1/8 teaspoon of extract, maybe a drop more. We're gonna add in just a pinch of salt. And then I'm going to use my hand mixer of this to combine this and just kind of get that butter a little bit mixed in there. And then we're going to add in our milk. Now, I am using just whole milk, what I had in my refrigerator. You could use half and half. You could use whipping cream. The thicker the milk you use, just the thicker it's going to make your frosting, so you might need a little bit more. I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons. It's better to use a little bit less than you think you need to start with. If you end up with too much milk in it, go ahead and just add in a little bit more powdered sugar, or if it's too thick, add in a little bit more milk, but just add in a little bit at a time. You just want to mix it and keep adding until you just have a really nice, smooth, spreading consistency. All right, now we're gonna add in, because at my school, the mint was green. Now, if you don't want to use food coloring, you don't have food coloring, you can totally leave this out and just have white mint. But I'm gonna add in just a drop of food coloring. We're going green today. Now, this green food coloring I have is a little bit, it's not as bright a green as what the Brownies had at school, but it's kind of what I have. Mine is a little bit more natural, kind of mossy, sagey green. All right, there we go. Now, we are going to let our brownies cool completely before we frost them. All right, our brownies are cooling, our mint frosting is done, and I actually did find some other green frosting in my cupboard, so I brightened it up a bit. It was just a little too gray of a green. So, for our chocolate frosting, and also I have decided that wearing black on a day you're working with powdered sugar is not a good idea, but we're gonna start with 2 tablespoons, and this butter we're gonna melt. What it's gonna do is gonna help this frosting to smooth over the top of the green frosting a little bit easier because of the melted butter. So 2 tablespoons salted butter, and into that we are going to add 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Make it nice and chocolatey. And then 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. See how much ends up on my dress. You know, and I don't measure my powdered sugar super accurately because it doesn't really matter. You can always add a little bit more milk, a little bit more powdered sugar. And then we're gonna add in about 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. And let's start mixing that together. Then we're gonna add some milk in again. Just get that powdered sugar a little mixed up. Then let's grab our milk, and again, I'm just using whole milk. Use whatever you've got. And we'll start with about 2 tablespoons. And again, you want to just mix it till you have a nice, smooth, spreading consistency. Add a little bit more powdered sugar if it's too thin, more milk if it's too thick. You know, I think we've got it just about right. Now, if your frosting does sit for a while though, like while your brownies are cooling, it could thicken up a bit, and you may need to add just a couple more drops of milk into it to loosen it up and make it a nice consistency again. All right, we are ready to frost our brownies. They are cooled. We are going to take our green mint frosting first, and we're just gonna add that in right on top. I like a nice healthy layer of mint. And I didn't mention, but if you like nuts in your brownies, you can totally add nuts. I suggest maybe like walnuts, pecans. I am not a fan of nuts in my baked goods, so no nuts here, but you could totally, and I would add in about 1/2 cup, probably. All right, get a nice layer of mint frosting. And then what we're gonna do with this is before we put the chocolate frosting on, we're gonna put this in, pop it in your freezer, your fridge, and just let it set up the frosting, because what that will happen is it'll make it much easier to add that chocolate frosting on top so that the frostings don't mix together. All right, so there we go. We got our mint frosting. We'll put it in the freezer and we'll come back and do our chocolate. All right, let this set up in the freezer for a few minutes. Now, I did add a little bit more milk to my frosting because they've been sitting for a while and kind of hardened up a little bit. And you want it pretty soft, which is going to make it easier to spread on top of the green frosting. All right, we're just going to take our chocolate frosting, put it on the top there. All right, so I'm wondering, do you have a favorite treat or something that you remember from college days, or maybe you're still in college, that was kind of your go-to? These mint brownies were it for me. It was like, didn't have much money as a college student, but like I'd save up, and once a week I'd allow myself to go down to, it was the area where they sold them, and buy myself a mint brownie. All right, we've got our chocolate on there. Now, again, we're just gonna let this frosting sit up for a few minutes. You can stick it back in the refrigerator, harden up, and I'll be ready to show you what they look like. All right, our brownies, I've let them set up. I just stuck them in my freezer for a few minutes. It's just gonna make them easier to slice. And so you can see I'm just gonna lift, using that little parchment sling, the brownies right out of the pan. And some of that frosting is still gonna stick to the sides of the parchment paper, but that's okay. We'll just go ahead and kind of slice right along here. If I had let it set up longer, that wouldn't have happened. All right, but can you see? Frosting's really good. We have our fun little, turn around this way, green layer right there, sandwiched between our chocolate ones. Now you can cut these as big or small as you want. I'm gonna cut them into 4 pieces. One trick that I've got that I'm gonna show you on how to cut brownies with frosting on it that makes it a little bit easier. Let me go grab something and I'll show you. All right, here's what I like to use. I actually like to use a plastic disposable knife versus a metal knife. I just find that you get a little bit cleaner cut, especially with that frosting. And so that's what I use. But I'm just gonna cut it across into 4 pieces. And then you're gonna wanna go ahead and just wipe off your knife between cuts. But there we go. Look at how yummy that looks. So if you've got a favorite treat you remember from college, I'd love to know what it is. Leave me a comment down below. I hope you enjoy these mint brownies, and stay tuned for the next few weeks. We're gonna have Brownie Month here on the channel. And if there's a certain brownie that's one of your favorites that you'd love to see in small batch form, let me know down below and I'll see what I can do. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen, and I'll see you in the next video.